Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to today's podcast. This will be part one of a two-part series on measuring automotive ad platform performance. There is some supporting information in a recent article that I published on LinkedIn on September 22nd, which is part one of the series, and go ahead and follow the links to read the follow-up articles that support the discussion that we're going to have today. Auto dealers have many choices for their online marketing dollars. Google AdWords is often the largest single item in a dealer's online strategy, but comparing different SEM agencies is very difficult for dealers because there's no standard for AdWords reporting that include complete conversion and engagement measurement. What do I mean by that? Every agency, whether they're a Google partner or not, do not have any unified way of reporting total conversion channels in their AdWords report until recently. Depending on your AdWords agency, you may get a report at the end of the month that just says how many conversions you received. Maybe it's not listed by campaign, maybe it is. But those conversions, when you ask your AdWords agency, well, does that include lead forms, phone calls, chats, and texts that were generated from AdWords? You might be surprised to know that the answer will be no. Why? Because the current state of automotive advertising is a free-for-all with no standards, and Google's not policing their agency partners to make sure that their platform really gets the full credit. At best, Google shows AdWords agencies how to connect lead form submissions and phone calls, but not chats and text. So the first thing we need to do in our attempt to understand how we measure the performance of different ad platforms, and when we talk about ad platforms, we have companies like Pure Cars or Digen or Dealer.com or CDK or Team Velocity. How do you know which agency platform in reporting is really maximizing your return on ad spend? In this series, I'd like for you to start by reviewing your campaign structure, and in the LinkedIn article, I outline 5 types of campaigns that I would suggest you ask your agency to break out so you can see the total cost and conversions generated by each of these 5 categories. The 5 categories are: number 1, branded keyword campaigns; number 2, geo-targeted or conquest campaigns; number 3, service and accessories, or also known as fixed ops campaigns; 4, new vehicle campaigns; and 5, used vehicle campaigns. So at the very least, I would expect you to demand of your agency, instead of just averaging all the results, that you would break these 5 categories into your reporting so that, well, as you'll see in a minute, you can inspect the performance on each tactical strategy. Let's dive into these categories. Dealers who look at last click or assisted conversions for their online advertising will almost 100% of the time find that category 1, branded campaigns, have the highest conversion of all campaigns by a long shot. When I say branded keywords, I'm talking about buying the dealer's name, buying their OEM brand, and their OEM brand and the city where they're located. For example, if BMW of Freehold, the branded campaigns would be Freehold BMW, BMW of Freehold, BMW in Freehold. Those are branded keywords because from radio, television, print, their signage, word of mouth, people know the dealership's name and or location. These campaigns are often sent to the homepage and are in a more of a set it and forget it mode. Why? Well, the dealer's name doesn't change, the city doesn't change. So unless the dealership moves or is acquired, the Category 1 campaign can be set up once, optimized, and pretty much run month after month without much change. Which begs the question, shouldn't auto dealers run their own perpetual Category 1 campaigns since they don't change often, and don't use a special landing page. The other thing you should know is that the home pages of the best website platforms today are becoming very simple and clean. Some of the best designs just have a very nice visual graphic with a button that says view new inventory, view used inventory, view our specials, view our service information. As a result, consumers on these next-gen websites have no problem navigating inventory and selecting the cars that they want. So these evergreen Category 1 campaigns could be very effective. And if your agency is charging you a percentage of ad spend, like, hey, they're charging me 20% of ad spend, and you're spending $2,000 or $3,000 on branded or brand defense keywords, well, that saves you 20% right there, because those campaigns you could set up and run internally forever. Category 2 campaigns are what I called geo-targeted or conquest. And these would be keywords that start to reach out from the city where the dealer's located into adjoining areas. These cities can be in their primary market area assigned by the OEM, or they could be conquesting, going farther out. One thing you should know is that the effective cost of AdWords decreases as you increase the radius. So going out 100 miles really can cost you 5 times more to conquest someone 100 miles out from your dealership than maybe spending more to really saturate and dominate your local market. It's extremely important that for Category 2 campaigns, you don't buy into the hype and that you inspect each city campaign to make sure that your targeting radius isn't too large, or your cost per conversion, and a conversion I'm talking about lead form, phone call, chat, or text, is too high. Oftentimes, geo campaigns will be used to send people to a search results page, a home page, or a specials page. It's extremely important for geo-targeted and conquest campaigns that you're looking at the quality metrics defined by PCG, that's ZEP for zero engagements per page, CPE, cost per engagement, and PER, photo engagement rate. It's extremely important to figure out which landing page is generating the most engagement and conversions for your geo-targeted and conquest campaigns. If you test the home page, an SRP, maybe a specials page, here's one thing you're going to find. One of those pages really converts poorly. You should take that out of your strategy. You should always be inspecting the landing page choices that your agency is making. Category 3 campaigns are service campaigns or fixed ops campaigns. And they're more difficult to measure because they have service scheduling software on their website that is iframed, which means that AdWords, when they send someone to your website and they navigate to a schedule service page, if they schedule a service, it's invisible to AdWords. Now, there are some things that you can do to improve your visibility on Category 3 campaigns. That would be to create landing pages for the different services that you're marketing, a separate page for brakes and tires and oil change. And then on those pages, have a button that says schedule service, meaning don't embed the service scheduler. You can start to measure how many people land on the oil change page and how many click to schedule. That will give you some data on interest or intent. And then, of course, you can baseline your daily or weekly online service schedules so that when you add, say, $1,000 to your service marketing campaigns, you can see if you have an uptick, and that can be another way to inspect the effectiveness of your fixed ops campaign. Categories 4 and 5 are for new and used cars, as I mentioned previously. This is a really important message to communicate, even though you may not want to believe it, but let your data tell you, not me. But as I've looked at thousands of dealers' websites and Google Analytics over the years, it is difficult for a dealer on their own or for an agency using average technology to get true shoppers to engage on SRPs and VDPs. Just this week, I showed a dealer group a few of their campaigns where the agency was taking the clicks to an SRP, a search results page. And there was an 80+% bounce rate on most campaigns. The agency wasn't looking to see if the SRP was the right place to take consumers, because maybe they just bought into a common industry thought that an SRP is the right place. But it's very difficult to actually guess what a consumer really wanted. And for these same dealers, taking consumers to the homepage generated only a 25 or 30% bounce rate. That's a significant difference, 80% versus 30%. Dealers who want to optimize Category 4 and 5 campaigns for new and used cars need engagement metrics, because they will never know the quality of their SRP and VDP views unless we know what the consumer did on the page. Anybody can send clicks to an SRP, anybody can send clicks to a VDP, but dealers need to be able to know, what did the consumer do on the page? Did they look at photos? Did they engage with the trade-in tools or finance calculator? For example, we recommend that used car campaigns have a PER or photo engagement rate of at least 15%. There are so many campaigns that we see that dealers are spending money for where the PER is 5%, 6%, 7%. 15% is an entry point. Highly optimized campaigns can be as high as 30 or 40% PER. Photo engagement is a very important metric to inspect the quality of your AdWords campaigns in Category 4 and 5. If you're seeing low PER or a high ZEP, meaning very, very little engagement, you really should look at a few things: the ad groups and keyword strategies, your landing page choices, how far you are away from your store, and then the device. Maybe you have really poor performance when consumers are on a mobile device because your website isn't performing well or fast enough. One of the sad things is that, as I mentioned earlier, there is no standards or requirement for ad agencies to set up conversion goals in Google Analytics for the 4 conversion channels. Isn't it odd that, from my estimates, less than 10% of all franchise dealers in the United States have all 4 conversion channels working in Google Analytics? Oh yeah, they get chat reports, and they get call tracking reports, and they get website lead reports, but are they tying those conversions to a specific visitor from a specific campaign with a specific landing page? The answer is no. The good news is that PCG has created standards, and in 2016 published them, and now we have tremendous industry support for agencies and website platforms and third-party tools that want dealers to have the ability to inspect their marketing investments through transparent engagement and conversion reporting in Google Analytics. With all 4 conversion channels configured, dealers can really look at the effectiveness of their advertising platforms, because they can use the free multi-touch attribution reports in Google Analytics, which show last click and assisted conversions and give dealers a much better picture of which campaigns are working. Remember, we can't use last click attribution reports from your CRM. They are far from accurate. It is a sad thing, but most general managers look at their lead performance report from their CRM, see what was the last source, and judge those marketing channels based on a completely skewed set of metrics. And what's so sad is that I hear dealers say, well, my website is the best source of leads. Like, no joke. That's because all of your marketing investments drive people to your website. Just because they submitted a lead form and your CRM says website, that doesn't mean that your SEO is so awesome or your brand is so awesome. It means that through your radio, television, third-party classified, AdWords, Facebook, YouTube, you've been driving people to your website, and you need to know all of those influences and see which channels are generating the most hard conversions and the highest level of shopping engagement. Are you ready to inspect what you're paying for? I strongly encourage you to ask your agency to divide up your campaigns in these 5 categories. Never accept roll-up campaign reports, because what they're doing is averaging those easy Category 1 campaigns with high conversions and often low cost with campaigns that aren't doing well, and it masks the problem. Never accept a summary report that says you spent $6,000, here are how many clicks, here's how many impressions, here's your impressions here, here's how many conversions. You can't do anything with that data. Second reminder is make sure all 4 conversion channels are working as active goals and events in Google Analytics. Make sure that your AdWords account is connected to your Google Analytics account so that you can see the campaign engagement and follow each campaign through how the consumer navigates on your website. And then lastly, if you're finding that 70-80% of all the conversions from AdWords are happening because of your branding campaigns, you may want to take them in-house and only pay commission on the campaigns that are not easy for you to run because they use advanced ad tech platforms. In part 2, I'm going to review examples of campaigns and how looking at an average performance would be misleading and not give the dealer the ability to inspect what they're getting. But when you break it out at the campaign category level, as I mentioned, wow, things start to really come to light on what is truly working to sell more cars in a digital age. If you enjoy this podcast, please share the information with your colleagues. Podcasts can be downloaded on the Apple iTunes Store, SoundCloud, or on the Libsyn, liberatedsyndication.com, Libsyn website for my channel. Also, if you are encouraged by the new strategies that are available to inspect your digital marketing strategies, let me remind you that in November in Boca Raton is the 2017 Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. It will be held each year in the fall, and this conference is going to be specifically focused on helping dealers find the right marketing mix and how to use analytics and attribution to know what's working. Then, of course, every spring we have the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, and that's always held in the Napa Valley. And that's a great conference to educate your team on the next generation of products, solutions, and strategies to sell more cars in a digital age. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to today's podcast, and I'll see you next week, as every Monday we release a new podcast episode on my channel. Thank you, and have a great day.